Hey everyone, welcome back. It is that time of year. It's the Sephora holiday savings event and I'm creating a shopping guide across all categories. So I'm going to give you my best of for makeup, skincare, hair care, body care, and fragrance. Everything you can imagine. I'm really excited to be working with Sephora again on this video. They're kindly sponsoring this video, so thank you so much to Sephora. I will have all of the details for the savings event in the description box as well as on screen. But basically, the holiday savings event runs from today, October 28th to November 7th. If you're not familiar, the quick rundown is that Rouge members can get 20% off, VIB members get 15% off, and insiders get 10% off. And it's free to sign up for the Beauty Insider program. I'm going to start with makeup, then go into skincare, then hair care, body care, and finish with fragrance. And this year, I really wanted to focus on products that I've discovered that are either new to market or new to me in 2022. I think there have been a lot of really incredible releases this year. So I'm excited to share. I have a lot of new favorites that I have discovered in the last 10 months, and we're just gonna dive right in. I will also timestamp everything just because I know these videos can get long. So grab a drink, grab a snack, and let's get into makeup. Let's start with base makeup, and for reference, I have an oily combo skin type, but I do try to speak to different skin types throughout my reviews of both base makeup and skincare. So you guys know I have not traditionally been a big primer person, but this summer I was so oily and I just needed some help, and recently I have not been able to put down the Danessa Myricks Blurring Balm Powder for face and eyes in the shade Universal. So this is just the translucent one. I just reviewed this in a video and I have been using it nonstop. It's a very unique kind of silicone-y, slippy balm that melts down the second it touches your skin. And I've been using this mostly on the T-zone and on the eyes, and it just holds my makeup in place really, really well all day long. It keeps my skin looking really fresh. It isn't uber mattifying, which is what I like about it. It helps my skin still look like skin, but it does smooth over the appearance of pores. It just holds onto makeup and it just creates a really nice canvas. This does come in tinted versions, but I kind of wanted the sheer translucent version so I could use it with other base products. I also think this is an incredible eye primer, and that is something about this that really surprised me. It provides a really smooth kind of velvety base for eyeshadow to go on top of, and I have very oily eyelids. My eyeshadows rarely crease when I use this underneath, so it's just been fantastic. Something I haven't talked about much lately is the Milk Makeup Hydro Grip Eye Primer. I actually don't love this for eyeshadow, but what I do love this for is for eye primer for under eye concealer. I don't have very deep sunken eyes, but sometimes I do occasionally get creasing just like right in this fold right here. And this has been a beautiful, basically under eye concealer primer. So if you have struggled with under eye concealer creasing or sinking or just getting maybe a little bit crackly, this makes the under eye concealer look really smooth and also helps prevent creasing throughout the day, and you only need a little bit. Another primer favorite has been the In Beauty Project Face Glaze Skin Barrier Veil. I picked this up in the springtime and I was really surprised by this texture. So it's a gel cream texture. It is an illuminating primer, but it doesn't feel tacky. So I just squeezed out a little bit. It just gives you the most pearlescent finish across the skin. It doesn't really have a base color. It's not glittery. It's not shiny. It just gives you a very smooth, pearly glow. If you like a glow that's a little bit more natural, you might like this. And I also think this texture is great for dry skin as well as oily skin because it does set down and it creates a bit of a grippy base. This is not nearly as glowy as my eternal favorite, the Hollywood Flawless Filter by Charlotte Tilbury. I wear the shade 4. I'm wearing it today. It's just a forever favorite. I use this more as a highlighter and this is a primer, but I just wanted to compare those two to say this is more natural and this is more glowy. Another primer release I've loved this year is the Milk Makeup Pore Eclipse Mattifying Primer. This is like a lightweight gel cream and it actually doesn't have silicones, even though it feels like it does. It's a little bit more weightless on the skin. So if the Danessa Myricks Blurring Balm didn't work for you, but you still want something that smooths the pores, mattifies, makes makeup long wearing, then this is the one for you. Starting with light coverage based products, I want to talk about the Summer Fridays Sheer Skin Tint. I wear the shade 4, but I think 3 will work for me moving into winter. I did a full review of this. It's beautiful. It is dewy, but it also has a really nice grip to it. So it stays in place for me, even though I have combo skin. It's very sheer, as the name suggests. It is very luminous, but it has such a nice spread to it. It just feels like the perfect hybrid of skincare and makeup. And I also find it has a surprising amount of blurring ability to it. So it kind of reminds me of other skin tints like the Fenty Eavesdrop, which I love, might be a better choice for you if you're oily combo. But if you like radiant skin, this has the blurring qualities of that while remaining skin-like and more luminous throughout the day. It also has a good shade range from very light to very deep, which can be difficult to find with skin tint formulas, but I think this is a really, really good option. For a little bit of a step up in the light to medium category, Merit recently revamped their foundation stick. I just did a full brand review on Merit Beauty, so I talk about every single product in the line. If you watched that, you will know that this is one of the only stick foundations I've ever really loved. It just has the most beautiful glide. I can wear this across the face. I can wear it under my eyes. I can spot conceal. The coverage is very, very adjustable, and it blends out like a dream. It doesn't just stick in one patch the way certain stick foundations may do. I also think it's just so user-friendly. It's travel-friendly. It's easy to use. If you are a minimalist, this is actually called the Minimalist Foundation Complexion Stick. It's just foolproof. Like, you can't really mess it up because you can blend it out with fingers or their foundation brush, which I also love. I think it's amazing. So I don't think you can go wrong with this. It's a great formula. In the medium coverage family, I have the Charlotte Tilbury Beautiful Skin Foundation, and I wear the shade 6 Neutral. This foundation has really surprised me because I always thought it would be a little bit too luminous for my skin type, and it is a natural, slightly luminous finish on me, but it just makes my skin look good. It just makes my skin look really creamy, hydrated, well-rested, smooth. It covers over blemishes, but it doesn't go to full coverage. So it remains skin-like in finish. And I also like how easy it is to apply. I've applied this with my fingers on the go. It's very easy to travel with because you have the tube with the pump. I've applied it with a brush, with a sponge, any which way you can imagine. And yeah, it's just become a staple in my routine. I turn to it a lot, and the shade 6N is a really good match for me. I've also this year rediscovered Armani Luminous Silk, and obviously this is a cult classic, but it remains a cult classic for a good reason. It just gives you the most beautiful, expensive looking skin. It's serumy, it glides across the skin, the coverage is adjustable, and the shade range is so good as well, especially for a luxury foundation line. I have the shade 5.9, which is definitely my winter shade, but it's a really good neutral winter shade for me. So I know I'm going to be getting a lot of use out of this, especially going into the winter months. A foundation that really has surprised me recently is the Valentino foundation. I would not have picked this up if they had not sent this to me, I admit. But it looks so good on the skin. It lasts a long time. It's not matte, but it has that long wear self-setting quality. And I feel like it's actually very comparable to my other favorite Dior Backstage foundation. And that's what I'm wearing now, actually, in Too Warm Olive. This is like a forever favorite, but this has a similar fluidity and spreadability across the skin. I'm not sure how dry skin types will feel about this, but if you are looking for a long wear foundation, this is great. I have the shades MN2 and MN3, and I do have to mix both of these to get my perfect shade. I have a feeling MN1 would work for me, but For now, I'll be mixing. But yeah, this one really surprised me. It's a good one. And my most recent foundation discovery is the House Labs Triclone Skin Tech Foundation. This is one that leans a little bit more luminous on me, so if you have drier skin, I think you'll like this. Although I think this will work for most skin types except the most oily. This is radiant, it's skin filtering, it does seem to blur over pores, and it has an incredible shade range. I think they really nailed the undertones in this range, especially less common undertones like olive, for example. I have 260, which is called light medium cool, but it's like a light medium neutral golden olive. I very quickly have to mention the Sephora collection number 56 brush. This one is in limited edition packaging. It's typically just black, but this foundation brush has been with me for years and it's gotten better and even softer with time. So it has a pinched ferrule, and I like that it's a smaller brush, so it gives you foundation coverage, but I also use it for concealer. I've also used it for cream contour, cream blush. This brush, man, it does it all. It's the best. I also think Sephora collection brushes in general are very, very good. This was a very good year for concealer releases, so I have a couple to talk about. This is the Dior Backstage Concealer, and this gives you coverage. I only need a couple of dots of this around the eyes to get full coverage, and I love the brush applicator. I just think it's really smart because it helps prevent over application. Even though I do get product around the sides, it's so good. The formula is so good, I don't really mind. And I wear the shade 2W. I also use this around the face, and because it has such good like sticking power, it doesn't just like move around, it like stays where I want it to. It's actually good for both around the eyes as well as for blemishes on the face. The other concealer is the more recent one that I've discovered. It's the Milk Makeup Future Fluid. And I wear the shade 10W in this. This one is really cute. It has a chubby applicator. And this one I would say is a little bit creamier than the Dior concealer, and this one is more of a medium coverage. It also is called an all-over concealer, so it does work well around the eyes, on the face. This one has a bit more creaminess and therefore a little bit more of a skin-like finish. This one is higher coverage, so it just gives you that kind of like clear canvas sort of look. And my longtime favorite that I can't not mention is the NARS Soft Matte Concealer in Custard. This is what I go to for blemishes, for high coverage around the face, because generally I go for light coverage and then I just like to pinpoint conceal where I need it. But this gives you coverage while still looking skin-like, and it's very adjustable. And then for setting powder, Laura Mercier revamped their powder line. So this is their new Ultra Blur translucent loose powder. This also comes in a couple of different shades. I think there's like a honey, a banana undertone. So there are options, and this has the setting properties of the original Laura Mercier powder, but it blurs even better. It blurs over pores. It makes your skin look a little bit filtered. If you have, you know, texture, if you have visible pores, it just kind of creates like a silk veil over the skin. And for me, this holds makeup in place all day long. I'm wearing it now. And this year I finally tried the Charlotte Tilbury Airbrush Flawless Finish Powder. I wear it in the shade 2 medium. This is obviously not new. It's a cult classic, but it is beautiful around the eyes. It just creates a bit of a veil under the eyes, and it does make your under eyes look really smooth. It's not mattifying enough for the face for me, so this is my under eye powder and this is my face powder. Moving into cheek products, there was an explosion of cream bronzers this year. I feel like there was a cream bronzer release like every week, every 2 weeks. So I have quite a few here that I like, but I do think they're all a little bit different and they are best suited for different skin types. So let me give you the breakdown. First of all, I have the very, very large Charlotte Tilbury cream bronzer. What is this called? The Beautiful Skin Sun-Kissed Glow Bronzer. For reference, this is the next bronzer I'm going to talk about. I mean, this is like twice the size. It's ginormous. The compact is beautiful. I'm pretty sure this is a refillable compact as well. And this is a great cream bronzer if you're looking for long wearing makeup and you want a cream bronzer that is more on the matte side. I'm wearing the shade 2 medium. I think there are 4 or 5 shades in this range. This has a very like creme to powder feel. It's more of that like soft velvety touch. And actually when I first opened the pan, I thought it was a powder because it has that velvety look across the surface. Shade number 2 is definitely on the warm side. So this is not your sculpting bronzer. This is more of your like really sun-kissed bronzer. And when I want a cream bronzer that's going to last throughout the day, that's when I turn to this. My other favorite has been the Makeup by Mario Soft Sculpt Transforming Skin Enhancer. This is the shade medium, and this is a cream that is a little bit more balmy. It's not your creme to powder, so this doesn't really set down, but it gives you the most beautiful glow to the skin. It's more of like a pearlescent sheen across the skin, both because there is a sheen in the formula, but also because this is a dewy formula. So it leaves that kind of glossiness across the skin. But I love it. Even though I have combo skin, this does stay put on me. And I just think it's a beautiful formula. I can apply this very generously, and I have, and I continue to reach for it month after month. Recently, I picked up the Danessa Myricks Contour Balm, and this is not new, but it's new to me. I wear the shade medium 1, and this is a really nice contour shade for my skin tone, and she also has great contour shades from light to very deep. The thing I like about this is how adjustable the contour is. I'm wearing it today, and I just went for a very, very light sculpting right here across the cheekbone. It's very adjustable, whether you want a really natural contour like I went for today, just right there, or if you want something a little bit more dramatic and sculpted, maybe something for evening. I really appreciate that this goes on smoothly. It looks natural no matter how I use it and no matter how much I use it. And medium 1 is a great shade for me. This year, much like last year, I've only been using like liquid or cream illuminators, and I don't really wear highlighter very much. So I mentioned Flawless Filter, I wear that all the time. Milk Makeup this year came out with their Bionic line, and so these are gel. There's bronzers, highlighters, and blushes, and I like all of them, but I do find I reach for the Bionic Glow the most. I think because it's a liquid illuminator that is so sheer and weightless across the skin. I mean, you're not even really going to see it on camera, but it just gives you the nicest sheen. But it's not sparkly, it's not chunky, it just gives you a very, very lightweight sheen across the skin. I wear the shade Virtual. There are a couple different shades in this, and Virtual is a really beautiful, like, rosy champagne pearl. You know I love blushes, so I have a couple creams, couple liquids, and a couple of powders. Let's start with creams. This year, I really got into the Patrick Ta creme and powder blush duos. These are not new, but they did release new shades, and this shade I've been wearing a lot. It's called Cheese Baked. It's almost this like burnt clay with a little bit of pink mixed into it. Both of these formulas are beautiful on their own. They're beautiful layered together, and even though this shade looks quite deep, it does sheer out nicely, but you can also build it up if you want. So I think this is a shade that works well across a lot of different skin tones. I've also still been loving my Rose Inc cream blushes. This is the shade Azalea, and this shade specifically converted me into the world of pink berry flush shades. Typically, you know I go for my warm tones, my peaches, my rusty reds, but this just gives you the most beautiful like snow bunny kind of look, like you've been out in the cold, and it just gives you this like berry tinge across the cheeks. And I find that this formula, even though it's a cream, lasts quite a while on me. It lasts all day long. It's very blendable. It's easy to use. They did do a shade extension of this earlier this year, and those shades look beautiful as well. So you have a lot of different options now in this line. I also tried new shades of the Danessa Myricks Vision Flush. My OG favorite that I've used for many, many years now is Ballet Slippers. It's the most beautiful, like warm pink. But this year I tried Vision Flush Nutcracker, which is such a cool, like neutral almondy shade, and the shade Sweet Nectar, which is a bright orange. It's a very happy, bright punch of color. And these are great if you want to use a liquid formula, but you need something that's going to last a long time. These set down and they do not budge. You can use them on cheeks, eyes, lips. I mostly use them on cheeks. I take a dot on the back of my hand, I blend it out, I take the brush and work it into the brush and then stamp it across the cheeks. Then I have Rose Ink Azalea, that cool pink tone flush, and then at the end here, that's the She's Baked Cream Blush and She's Baked Powder Blush. So a range of different kinds of tones here. Then I have a few different powder blush formulas, and I'm gonna call it now, in 2023, powder blushes are making a comeback. I know we've all been on the cream products train, and I love those too, but there's something about a powder blush that just gives you that really diffused application. The most recent one I tried, you've seen me try this, is the Gucci blush, and this is the shade Rosy Beige. It's the most beautiful compact. I mean, just look at this. It's Gucci, so it's very luxe. It's weighty. It has the most beautiful compact. It says Gucci across the pan right there. Rosy Blush is such a nice, neutral, almost leaning cool tone shade. It's actually a great sculpting blush, which is what I discovered in my try-on of it, at least on my skin tone. But there are, I think, 6 or 7 shades in this range. You know I'm a sucker for Tom Ford, and this year I got to try the Tom Ford blush duos. This is the shade and Illuminate blush in the shade Peach Poison. Tell me that's not so beautiful. It's very luxe. It has the classic Tom Ford packaging. So, you know, the holiday savings event is a nice time to splurge on some Tom Ford, in my opinion. But I love the formula of this, but I also love this particular shade curation. The formula is very, very smooth. It's very refined, very elegant, and it looks super skin-like on the cheeks. I like this version because, especially in the summer, it gave me a very like sunburnt kind of cheek. I could use this deeper shade to almost work as a sculpting blush, and then I could brighten up with this peach. But there are so many different shade options in this range. Some are more cool toned, some are warmer, there's a light and deep, some of them have like 2 medium shades. So I think there's something for everybody in this line, and these just perform so beautifully. For something not quite so in the Tom Ford price range, I have the Bare Minerals bronzers. I have reviewed these before and I think they're all beautiful. I don't necessarily, I mean, these are meant to be bronzers as in like bronzer blushes. In my opinion, they're more of a warm toned blush, but nonetheless, I find them beautiful. And there are 3 shades in this range. I'm wearing Kiss of Pink today on the cheek, and it's a really beautiful flush of pink. These do have like a bit of a sheen running through them, so they're a glowy blush. I also wear this one a ton, Kiss of Copper. It almost has like a warm peachiness to it. And the deepest one, Kiss of Rose, is also gorgeous, and this would be beautiful on a deeper skin tone as well. Powder blushes are difficult to assess in a swatch, but I'll show you the swatches anyway. That's the Gucci blush in Rosy Beige. This is the Tom Ford duo in Peach Poison, and these are the 3 Bare Minerals bronzers in Kiss of Pink, Kiss of Copper, and Kiss of Rose. Moving into eye products, let's talk about eyeshadows, starting with singles. And by far, the standout single eyeshadow for me this year has been the Charlotte Tilbury Eyes to Mesmerize in Exaggerize. This is a new shade she released this year, and it really like doesn't look like much in the pan, but on the eyes, it's so beautiful. You've seen me use this before. It has this warm peachy brown base, and then it has the shiniest silver flash. It looks wet across the eyes. If you know this formula, you know it's like a whipped moussey eyeshadow, cream eyeshadow, and it's just so easy to blend out. You can do a sheer layer, you can build it up. The other new shade I picked up is Sunlit Glow. This one is like a pinky gold duochrome flip. Also really beautiful. It's definitely warmer, but it has this really cool pink gold shift to it. And the other shade is Walk of No Shame, which is not new to this year, but it was new to me this year. And this is a beautiful, like, red-based copper. It's beautiful if you love like a warm toned eye. So again, that's Exaggerize, look at that shine, Sunlit Glow, and Walk of No Shame. This year I tried the new Tom Ford Eye Color Quad Creme formula. So this is a creme to powder. They're creamy in the pan, but then they kind of glide over the skin and set to this beautiful, like, smooth, powdery finish. I have the colorway called Tiger's Eye. There are a couple different shade options, and this is also a great palette for ease. I like to apply these with fingers, but they blend out with a brush as well. I just recently hauled and tried out this palette. This is the Dior Khaki Neutrals Backstage palette. This is limited edition, so this is part of their holiday release, and I love this palette. It's green but neutral at the same time. There are actually more neutral shades in this than there are green, and they're all very different from each other. So you get an emerald green, a khaki green, and this deep forest green. This is more of a subtle palette in terms of finishes than, for example, your Pat McGrath, your Natasha Denona, which I'll get into in a second. This is more of like a softer, refined eye, but I kind of like that with these colors. There's something very wearable as a colorful eyeshadow palette about this color story. Moving into a few big eyeshadow palettes. You know, I've generally reached for smaller palettes this year, but there are a few standouts. So this year I dipped my toe into the Patrick Ta eyeshadow palettes, and I love them both. And these both have the same format. So the bottom row is all matte shades, and then the top row is all different shimmers and toppers. And then you have two cream eyeshadows on the side here, which have a nice little cover across them. So I reach for these mattes all the time. They blend out beautifully. They're very, very smooth. They're more of a powdery matte formula. They're not like your dense, creamy mattes, but I kind of like that. I feel like that makes for an easy blend. I also reach for the rosy mattes in here all the time if you like something a little bit warmer. So if there's, you know, one of these that speaks to you, I think you'll get a lot of use out of them. This is what I think is the eyeshadow palette of the year. Surprise, it's the Danessa Myricks Lightwork Volume 2. I've done a full review of this with 7 looks, and I've done many more looks on my Instagram, other pages. It is a work of art. I mean, just look at that. There are 3 different finishes in here, or maybe 4. So there are duochromes, there are these like crystally toppers, there are 2 water activated shades, and 2 chrome flakes. These are so special. There's nothing else in my collection that feels like these. They have the most incredible glide. One swatch will just stretch for days. They have such interesting textures, interesting flips across the multi-chromes, and this is truly an eyeshadow palette. I said this in my review. It's an eyeshadow palette for makeup lovers, and it's an eyeshadow palette for me that inspires creativity. Then I have to do it. I have to talk about my Pat McGrath palettes. I have all of them, all of the motherships except for one, and I think if you're going to spend the money, the motherships are where they're at. The one caveat that I have mixed feelings about, but I'm actually wearing today, is the latest release, the Mothership 10. I also have a dedicated video of this with 7 or 8 looks, and even though I'm sad that the special shades are not in this palette, those are her baked astral shades, I have to admit that this is a really beautiful color story. I'm wearing this beautiful like pink, twinkly pink shade all over my eyes today, over a couple of mattes, and it just gives the most beautiful, twinkly, glossy look. My all-time favorite of the motherships is Mothership 5, which is Bronze Seduction. That is this one. This one to me is the most wearable. It has these warm bronzes and these neutral tones, but it also has the most interesting special shades. So this shade with the green flip will never ever be over this shade all over the eye. This shade with the twinkle, I mean, these are just, there's really nothing like these. Personally, I would go for a Mothership over the holiday palettes, the limited edition ones, even though those have more shades. These are higher quality, especially if you get one with the special astral shades. I do think this year's holiday palette is really beautiful and a little bit experimental in the color choices with the blues and greens. So I am still curious about that, but my heart belongs to the Mothership palettes. I don't think I grabbed any of the Natasha Denona palette releases this year, but year after year, Natasha Denona Biba remains one of my most used palettes, definitely in my top 3 most used palettes of all time. If there is a Natasha Denona color story that speaks to you, I just know you won't be disappointed. The formula is exquisite, it's creamy, it's beautiful, it's dense, it's rich, and I think they're all stunning. I also love the bronze palette. I love the Trio Chrome palette. So if there's anything in the brand that speaks to you, I just think they're all beautiful. Moving into other eye products like mascaras, eyeliners, brow stuff, the mascara that has swept them all is the Tower 28 Make Waves mascara. This came out, I think, in August or September. I've been using it non-stop. So it has a very lightweight wand, and it's slightly curved. It's really good for combing through the lashes and gripping onto the lashes. And it creates such a fluttery, separated look. It's also like bendable, so if you need to maneuver around the corners of your eyes, it's perfect. But what I love about this mascara the most is that it's very buildable, and it creates the most beautiful lifted, curled, fluttery lash. And I can layer this on without it getting spidery or without having my lashes stick together. It's also not waterproof, but it does not smudge on me, and it lasts all day long. It does hold a curl better than most, although I do like my curl holding primers, and it's just everything I want in a mascara. I think this is going to become Tower 28's like new hero product, because everyone I know with different lash types that has tried this loves it. For eyeliners, I've really been liking the Milk Makeup Infinity Longwear Gel Eyeliner. I was so sad when they discontinued their old liners because they were so good, but I'm happy to say these are just as good. There are only 3 shades right now. There's like an electric blue, a black, and a brown. But these are really nice because they're gel, so they're retractable. They are creamy when you apply them. They're uber pigmented, but they also give you time to play. So if you do your wings the way I do, which is you sort of smudge it on and then take an angled brush to manipulate the shape and create the angle and the length that you want, it's just perfect for that liner technique. Then they set down and they do not budge, they don't smear, they don't run. I have hooded eyes, so I'm prone to smudging, and these stay on all day long. My brow routine has not changed that much. I use the Benefit 24-Hour Brow Setter to lay down my brows, create a bit of a laminated look. So I lay my very stubborn brows down with this, and then I've been really liking the Lawless Shape Up Soft Fill Brow Pencil. So this is, it's a micro pencil, but it's actually an oval shape. I also think the shades are really good. There are 5 or 6 shades that range from blonde to auburn to brunette. I find that this pencil shape makes for a really natural, fluffy looking brow. So I'm able to get brow-like strokes or hair-like strokes, but I'm also able to get that soft diffuse effect where I want it because this is a pencil, powdery pencil formula. Moving into lip products, let me tell you about my favorite lip pencils. My newest acquisition is the Rare Beauty lip liner, and they came out with this lip release of lipsticks as well as lip liners. The lipsticks I swatched in store, they're beautiful, but I didn't grab any. This lip pencil is beautiful. It's called the Kind Words Matte Lip Liner in the shade Talented. It's a gel lip liner, so it's retractable, you just push it up. And this shade Talented is a really interesting shade on me. I have warmer undertones, especially in my lips. So this is what it looks like swatched, but actually on my lips, it's a really good sculpting lip shade because it has a bit of a cooler undertone than my natural lip shade. So it cools down warmer lip colors, and it's blendable, but it's also very long lasting. It's creamy, but it lasts a long time once it sets down. I also tried the Natasha Denona I Need a Rose lip crayon, and specifically this color Calla. It's what I'm wearing on my lips now, and this is the shade right there. These are super, super creamy. They're a gel pencil, but you do sharpen them. And this one has a little bit more of like a creamy shine to it than the Rare Beauty one. The Rare Beauty one is very matte, but I really like this because it glides. It has such a nice glide to it. And this shade is a really nice, warm pink on me. My two longtime favorites are the Makeup Forever Artist Color Lip Pencils. One of my all-time like most used nude lip colors is Anywhere Caffeine. That's it right there. But for sculpting, what is this called? It's the Endless Cacao. It's the Katie Jane Hughes famous Endless Cacao. This looks like an eyeliner or like a brow pencil, but I promise you it is great for sculpting and contouring the lip. Then moving into balms, glosses, and lipsticks. I still love the Summer Fridays Butter Lip Balm. This is the shade Vanilla Beige, which I think is just a universally flattering shade. I mean, it's just kind of like this like brownie lip, but it doesn't feel minty, which I love. It has a really nice creaminess to it. There's actually a really cute set that has this with a few of their other shades in this formula. So, you know, if you want something easy, maybe you're a makeup minimalist, this is a great one. One of my all-time favorite tinted lip products, I can't find it because it's in one of my bags, is the Dior Lip Glow in the shade Mahogany. And Mahogany looks deep in the tube, but it has a Clinique Black Honey effect where you apply it and it totally shears out and it transforms the color of your lips, and it gives me a really nice brownie rose tint on the lips. It's been reformulated to be slightly minty, but it's so subtle that I don't notice it. And I am someone who is sensitive to mint and menthol in lip products, and it doesn't bother me at all. I also love the Tower 28 lip jellies. The clear one, I've gone through a couple of these because I use them as like lip treatments. It's that moisturizing, but of course the tinted ones are nice too. And these I was just sent recently and I've been using them nonstop. So there is pistachio and there is cashew. Moving into lipsticks, I had to include one of my favorite launches of the year, which is the Merit Signature Signature Lightweight Lipsticks. I think these are lipsticks that even people who don't like lipsticks will like because there is a sheerness. They're almost like this waxy, balmy lipstick with a sheerness to them. So they don't ever become fully opaque. You don't have to commit to like a super pigmented lipstick. This is Millennial. It's a warm pink. This is Slip. It's a beautiful neutral beige. This is La Avenue, which is a berry brown. This is Tiger, which is a brick red, and this is Cabo, which is an orangey red, and if you're a lover of orangey reds, you will love this. But they're all just so beautiful. They've done such a good job with the shade curation on all of these, and they're so comfortable to wear. Not to mention the packaging is really beautiful. You know I have to mention my Gucci lipsticks because I love these. They're just the most beautiful, indulgent treat. But this year they have a new formula. This is their liquid lip formula, and it's called a liquid lipstick, but to me it's a bit more of a lip stain. It doesn't have that old school crackly dry down. It's more of like a blurred silicone-y soft finish. This is the shade They Met in Argentina, which is a favorite for me. I've also had this in their matte lipstick shade, and it's just a beautiful, like bright, face brightening shade. It's what I'm wearing on the lips today, and it's really nice for a blurred lip look, but it is also really, really long wearing. This sets down and it will not budge, like nothing on the hands, but it feels comfortable. So here is They Met in Argentina in the liquid. These two are the Shine formula, and that's my cousin Rachel, and this is Gucci Red, which is the classic red shade in the Gucci line. Then I have Agatha Orange in the Sheer formula. This is Penny Beige in the Satin formula, which is a beautiful yellow undertone nude. And this is They Met in Argentina in the matte lipstick. The last lipsticks are new to me and also a shade extension of an older line. So these are the Armani Lip Powers. I've swatched all of these for you in the past, but I love these 3 shades specifically. These are such an interesting formula because it's a creamy lipstick, but it lasts so long, even though it's not a matte finish. And I don't know how they do it. They come in these beautiful tubes. They're very tall and they have a teardrop shape to the actual tube, which makes precision application really nice. This is a 108, which is a nude pink. This middle shade 110 is my most worn and it's the one I get the most compliments on. And this shade is 206 and it's a brick red. That is it for makeup, and we're going to get into skincare. If you're just joining now, I have oily combo skin, I'm congestion prone, I'm breakout prone, but I do try to consider different skin types in my reviews. And skincare is a little bit different because I have some old favorites here as well as new favorites, just because I don't experiment with skincare as much as I do with makeup. Starting with cleansers, for some longtime favorites, I have the Paula's Choice Cleansing Balm. This is fragrance-free, it's great for all skin types. It comes in a tube, so it's easy to use. It rinses clean. It does everything I want it to do. It dissolves makeup, mascara, SPF. It's just one that I recommend to everybody because even though it's not the most fancy or exciting, it does exactly what I want it to do. My cleanser is also not new. It's the Youth to the People Kale and green tea spinach vitamin superfood cleanser. It gives me a nice cleanse. It removes any traces of cleansing balm if I do a second cleanse with this. And it's also really great for oily skin types because it gives you a nice cleanse without being stripping. Then let's get into hydrating products, hydrating serums, essences, all of that. Some of my favorites I used up this year and I don't actually have in front of me, so I'll insert pictures. The first one I can think of is the Youth to the People Oasis Serum, and that came in a blue bottle. It's a beautiful hydrating serum. Primarily it has hyaluronic acid and other hydrating ingredients, but it also has peptides that help with anti-aging, and it was just the most juicy, delicious serum. I also loved the Summer Fridays Dream Serum. That one is more of a gel cream consistency, and I actually used it as a gel cream in the summer. If I had it now going into fall winter, I would use it as a hydrating layer under a richer moisturizer. But I think all skin types will love that. Those are both fragrance-free. The textures are completely different. It just depends what you're looking for in terms of if you want something more watery or creamier, but they were both so beautiful. I also loved the In Beauty Project Slushy Serum, and I talked about it a bunch. It was in my empties and favorites. It is a serum that comes out like a gel, but then the texture changes and it immediately turns into a hydrating fluid. That also contains some antioxidants, and it was a really nice layer, especially for daytime, because it added hydration without adding weight under makeup. I'm also really glad Sephora has brought in Beauty Project because their price point is really good. I think it's between $20 to $30, and all of the products I've tried from them are really good. So that's definitely a newer brand at Sephora that you may want to check out. Most recently, I have been testing the Merit Great Skin Instant Glow Serum. And when I did the Merit brand review, I did express some apprehension about a makeup brand doing skincare, and I have to say I eat my words because this is beautiful. It's a biphase serum, so you have watery, hydrating ingredients at the bottom and more oily, emollient ingredients on top. So you mix it up. It has the most beautiful packaging. It has this weighty frosted glass, the gold cap, and this actually, even though it's called a serum, has a very fluid consistency. You can see how wet and glossy and kind of watery it is on the skin. So even though it has oils in it, it's actually very lightweight, and I think even for me as someone with oily combo skin, I can use it without worrying about my skin producing too much oil, holding on to too much oil. It is a great step for me for my PM skincare, but I think dry skins would love this in the daytime under makeup as well. For a bit of a richer serum, Sodoazu Concentrated Ginseng Renewing Serum has been lovely. You know I love their First Care Activating Serum. This is more of like a watery essence sort of step that you use as your first step after cleansing. This is more of a rich serum that gives you super bouncy skin. Here is the texture of the serum, and it just sort of melts into the skin. It smells like Korean hanbang, which I love, which is Korean herbal, like traditional medicinal herbal ingredients. And it does have a strong ginseng smell. So it may not be for everybody, but this, I mean, it has a cult following. The ginseng line for Sodoazu has a cult following in Korea for a reason, and it's because it just delivers the most beautiful, like plumped up, juicy, bouncy skin. For exfoliating acids, treatments, peels, I have one new favorite that may surprise you. This is the Rose Inc Skin Resolution Clarifying Toner. And this is a blend, I believe, of glycolic, a little bit of salicylic, and maybe PHAs. And I like this because it's a blend that's not too strong. So I take this on a cotton pad and it's a chemical exfoliator, but it doesn't completely like strip my skin. I use tretinoin, which is a prescription retinoid, which is pretty strong. So I alternate on various nights with this, which is why it's nice to have a gentle exfoliator in my routine. My classic is the Dr. Dennis Gross Alpha Beta Peel Pads, especially now that we've been traveling again a little bit more this year. I have to say these are my go-tos just because they come in individual packets. So you get the exfoliating pad in step 1 and then a neutralizing pad in step 2. You get directions on how to use them, and they come in gentle, regular, and extra strength. So these have been a favorite for like 10 years, but I still continue to come back to these. Speaking of Dr. Dennis Gross, let's talk about some eye treatments. So they reformulated their eye products this year, and this is the Vitamin C and Lactic Firm and Bright Eye Treatment. So this is an eye serum, actually. It comes with a little pump, and it has vitamin C, lactic acid. There's the texture there. You blend it in. It's very lightweight, but it's also very moisturizing. So I've really been enjoying that. I think Dr. Dennis Gross is one of my go-to brands for active ingredients just because I know they're always going to be formulated well. For something a little bit richer but equally brightening, Paula's Choice came out with their C5 Super Boost Eye Cream. So this has 5% vitamin C with hyaluronic acid and polypeptides. And this has more of your traditional eye cream texture. It's a little bit more cushiony and emollient and pillowy than the Dr. Dennis Gross treatment. Another surprise to me this year has been the Charlotte Tilbury Magic Eye Rescue Cream. So this has a little bit of retinol in it, which we know is great for anti-aging, but I love the texture of this. I don't love all of the Charlotte Tilbury skincare, and I've done a full Charlotte Tilbury brand review, but this is really nice because it's very buttery and emollient, so a little goes a really long way. It has a lot of spread. This is definitely something I save for nighttime because it has that kind of oily feel. But if you are looking for anti-aging in your eye care, this is what I would use. Then let's talk about moisturizers. I have some for every skin type. In Beauty Project 10+10 Moisturizer, which has peptides, vitamin C complex, and ceramides. This is a great daytime moisturizer for me. So you can see I've used a lot of it. It's a pretty straightforward cream, but I like that it has ceramides. I like that it has the antioxidants in there. And it's a lightweight cream that sinks in quickly. If you're looking for some texture fun, the new Youth to the People Polypeptide 121 Future Cream, beautiful. So it looks almost like buttery in the jar. So it has this like puddingy kind of texture. And as soon as it hits your skin, it becomes the most beautiful, like kind of emollient feeling cream, and it just adds a lot of bounce to the skin. A night mask that I've been using a ton this year is the Fresh Floral Recovery Calming Mask. So this is huge. It's 3.3 ounces and it looks like I've barely used it, even though I've been using it regularly for like 6 months. I like this because it's a night cream that's not too heavy. It doesn't feel too occlusive or too heavy on the skin, but I also still wake up with really plump, moisturized skin in the morning. So I think a lot of different skin types will like this. For sunscreens, I have two favorites. One totally surprised me, blew me out of the water, one of the only mineral SPFs I've ever really loved. It's the Summer Fridays Shade Drops Broad Spectrum SPF 30. This is a mineral SPF, so I won't say it's completely sheer, especially on deep skin tones, but it's one of the most sheer mineral SPFs I've ever used. It has a really beautiful serum-like consistency, and this just sinks into the skin like nothing. And my longtime favorite is the Paula's Choice Youth Extending Daily Hydrating Fluid. This is SPF 50 and it is chemical filters, so it's completely sheer and it has no fragrance, great for all skin types. For body treatments, I really stand by all of my old favorites, and by old favorites, I mean my Necessaire products. So I love the body oil, I love the body serum, and I think this is a big crowd pleaser, especially if you're someone that doesn't like the heaviness of body lotion. This is perfect because it gives you that lightweight gel consistency, but it sinks in really quickly. It also has great ingredients like niacinamide, and I also know people who use this on their face and love it too. I love their body washes. I've gone through so many bottles. My favorite scent is eucalyptus, but I also really like that they have fragrance-free options. And something exciting is that Sephora has brought Necessaire's hair care line into the stores, which they didn't have last year. So I love their shampoo and conditioner. Their shampoo is very good at cleansing without being too dry or stripping. The conditioner is great, and they have a new scalp serum too that I've been testing. Too early to say whether it's helping with hair growth or things like that, but I'm enjoying it so far. So definitely loving Necessaire still. I have a few recent products that I've been loving. The first one I have to mention is the Living Proof Triple Bond Complex. They came out with this, I think, this summer, and this is a hair strengthener. So you put this into wet hair at the ends before you blow dry or do any sort of like heat styling. And this makes my hair feel so smooth and so soft. If you have color treated hair, chemically treated hair, split ends, this is amazing. This year Sephora also brought in Ceremonia, which is one of my current favorite hair care brands. I especially love their guava line. I've talked about it before. It smells so good. It actually smells like the real fruit, guava. I especially love the Rescue Spray. So it's a UV and heat protective detangler. I use this through my wet hair to help detangle. It's a milky spray. It adds some hydration. It's a great one. And yeah, you have to try the guava line. The last thing that I've been trying is the Fable & Mane Holy Roots hair oil. I have an oily scalp, but sometimes I also have a dry and flaky scalp that's also oily. So I realized my scalp needs some balancing. So this is a pre-wash hair oil. You put about a dropper through the roots of your hair, let it sit before you wash. And of course, you know, South Asian cultures have been doing that for a long time, and it just helps balance out the scalp. For me, it has noticeably helped subside any scalp itchiness or dryness, but it doesn't add oiliness because you do it before you shampoo and condition and all of that. So it does wash out. It just is a treatment for your scalp. For hair tools, I still love my T3 curling wand. I have the T3 Twirl, which has interchangeable barrels of different sizes, but I use my 1.25 all the time. Lastly, I'm gonna close out with fragrance and candles. And in 2022, Sephora brought in a lot of new fragrance brands. By the way, I just did a fall fragrance edit that is is a little bit more extensive. So if you want to see more recommendations of perfumes and candles, you can definitely look there. So let's start with Dead Kohl. I love Dead Kohl. It's an LA-based brand, and my favorite scent from them is called Milk. This is called a layering fragrance, so it's a lightweight scent that you can layer with other fragrances, but to me it's like a perfect signature daytime fragrance. It has some sandalwood, but it's a very light wood. There's actually a balance of white florals, which I typically don't like, but this doesn't have their like powderiness. If you like Glossier You, if you like those very skin-like fragrances, there's even a bit of musk in here, you will love this. And it's great because it's not super strong. It wears close to the skin, and for me, this is very much a signature scent. I also love Dead Kohl Taunt, so it's definitely a brand worth checking out, and they also have minis, which is really nice. People lost their minds for Fleur this year, with good reason. Fleur Missing Person, I think, is probably their most popular fragrance. And this and Dead Kohl Milk live in the same world, except Missing Person has a bit more musk and a bit more roundedness. Missing Person to me is one of those fragrances that wears close to the skin. You kind of forget you're wearing it until someone points it out or tells you you smell good. Their newest perfume, Somebody Would, is the perfect fall winter fragrance. It's definitely wood forward, but it's not as heavy as a typical sandalwood amber, although it does have the ambroxan notes. There's a top note of citrus that makes it a little bit brighter initially, and then it wears into a creamier, warmer, musky wood throughout the day. This year, commodity fragrances made their way back into Sephora. They had sort of a brand relaunch, and I'm so glad they did because they have some very interesting, artistic fragrances. Commodity Gold is probably my favorite and my most worn, and this is a vanilla that is not too gourmand, not too sweet, but this has like a musky, woodsy base. Can you sense a theme here? That wears so beautifully on the skin, and it also layers really well with other woodsy perfumes. Gold is very much a crowd pleaser. It's like you can't really go wrong with this scent, I don't think. And it's one that I continue to wear year after year. And then Boy Smells is now at Sephora, which is really exciting. They have their perfumes as well as their candles. A perfume I've been loving, which is a rare floral that I actually like, is Marble Fruit. And this is a florally fruit with a woods base. So I just reviewed this in a longer video, but it has this like explosion of like juicy pear and florals, but at the core is an ambery note. So yeah, it's just very complex. This is a very big scent. I also love their bottles. They're very sculptural and beautiful, very aesthetically pleasing on the vanity. I also like their Cashmere Kush perfume. I love their Hinoki Fantôme perfume. They have a really nice discovery set and mini sets that I'll link below. And to close out with candles, I have to say I love Boy Smells Cashmere Kush as a candle because it has that sticky cannabis scent, but it also has this like amber woods, but there's a bit of tulip in it that lightens it up. It's just a very cozy but sensual sort of home scent. For something lighter and creamier, I really love LES, which is their blackcurrant, peach blossom, jasmine rice, cardamom, and white cedar. It just has that like coconut base, but then there's florals. It's a little bit woodsy. Boy Smells just in general does really interesting blends that are always a little bit surprising. If you know me, you know I love my Nest Fragrances candles, and their seasonal scents are some of my favorites of all time. So I love their holiday candle. It's probably my most burned and repurchased candle of all time. Just smells like fresh pine trees, but then you get these fruity notes like cranberry, and it's just beautiful. I love their Birchwood Pine candle if you love a true crisp, clean pine scent, like a real tree scent. And I love Pumpkin Chai if you want something that's a little bit more gourmand. So you really can't go wrong, I think, with the Nest candles. Sephora also is carrying Otherland, and I love their rattan candle. I've gifted their Fallen Fir candle, which is one of their seasonal winter candles. So I think they are all really beautiful, beautifully packaged and beautifully presented candles that make really good gifts, in my opinion. So that concludes this video, the ultimate Sephora holiday savings event shopping guide. If you've made it this far, thank you so much for watching, and thank you to Sephora for sponsoring this video. It's truly a dream to get to work with Sephora again, and I just can't tell you how much it means to me. If you have any questions about anything I've mentioned here or anything I didn't mention here, let me know in the comments below and I will meet you there. I will also link, as I mentioned, everything I discussed as well as previous Sephora shopping guides. So yeah, thank you so much for hanging out with me, for spending time with me, for trusting my recommendations. If you do pick up anything that I've recommended, let me know. And I'll see you in the next one. Bye!